Richmond Junction in Victoria is your average junction. It allows trains from one line to hop onto another, providing flexibility all over the network. It's nothing to blink at, and unless you dig a little deeper into its history or ask the media, then you wouldn't be able to tell that there was once an expansive rail precinct here. History. Jolimont Yards has been there since the conception of Flinders Street. Even back in 1854, the site was used to house trains, and very soon maintained them. Princess Bridge Railway Station joined later in 1859, and a pair of running tracks were added through the yards to allow trains to carry on to Hawthorne. Jolimont Yards were used mainly to store and maintain suburban stock, while freight trains were maintained and stored at Melbourne Yards, now known as Dynon Yards, and Dudley Street sidings, which hasn't really changed since the 1890s. In 1917, with the introduction of electric trains, several upgrades to Jolimont Yards were done. Princess Bridge Workshop was replaced with a much bigger workshop along the original alignment of Batman's Avenue, called Jolimont Workshops, which would be where the suburban sets would be serviced and stored. An electrical substation was built at the south of the yards, and was the largest substation on the network until it was demolished in the 1970s, to allow for quadruplication from Richmond to Burnley. Demolition. In the 1980s, the Metropolitan Transit Authority proposed several plans to decentralize Jolimont Yards, while also redeveloping the area. These projects went ahead in the late 80s and early 90s. Tracks were cleared in 1987 to 1988, which reduced the number of running lines from 52 to 12. Several new facilities were also built around the network, these being Epping Workshops, Nunawading Workshops, Oakley Workshops, Newport Workshops, Carrum Sidings, Mordialloc Sidings, Camberwell Sidings, Burnley Sidings, and Macaulay Sidings, which is right on the CityLink. Nunawading and Oakley Workshops were dropped, and smaller workshops were built at Bayswater and Westall instead. Jolimont Workshops finally closed in 1993. It was demolished later in 1994. All single boxes were also removed, and control was moved to Metro soon after. Jolimont Workshops. Built in 1917 to replace Princess Bridge Loco Works, Jolimont Workshops maintained the network's suburban fleet until 1993, as well as E and L class electric locos and all rail motors until 1950, while steam locos were housed and maintained at North Melbourne Loco Depot, and diesels were housed and maintained at South Dynon Loco Works. The workshops had two swing-door motor carriages used for shunting, and one V-class diesel used for hauling carriages through the carriage wash. One of the swing doors, 113M, was single-ended, and the other, 156M, was double-ended with dual pantographs. Both have been preserved, but unfortunately all swing door carriages were burned and destroyed in the Newport fires. The facilities at Jolimont Workshops had the main workshop, with 4 tracks, 3 of which being fitting bays, and 24 traverse tracks with pits, a 24-ton crane used for handling bogies, an inspection and running bay with 9 tracks, all with inspection pits, and painting and varnish bay with 5 tracks and platforms in between each. Princess Bridge Railway Station. Located in the northwestern corner of the yard, Princess Bridge Railway Station opened from Princes Bridge to Punt Road in 1859. The station was the terminus for the Sandringham line and any lines coming from Richmond. The station was closed in 1865 when the Hobsons Bay United Rail Company was allowed to run their trains to Flinders Street. Princess Bridge reopened in 1879 to allow Gippsland trains to terminate there. A rail line between Princess Bridge and Clifton Hill opened in 1901, and trains from Clifton Hill also started terminating there. In 1910, Princess Bridge and Flinders Street were effectively merged, but they retained separate names and platform numbers were merged. The original station was torn up and removed to make way for the Princess Gate Towers in the 1960s. The stations were kept, but new platforms and tracks were given. In 1975, tracks were simplified to 3 through lines, and in 1980 the platforms were connected up to Flinders Street. In 1994, Jeff Kennett announced the demolition of the Princess Gate Towers, which also involved removing Princess Bridge Railway Station. Platforms 15 and 16 were demolished, and Platform 14 was retained due to former City Circle services. Original site. The current site of Princess Bridge Railway Station is where Federation Square is today, and if you go to Flint Street via Mernda, this green building is what mostly remains of the station today. Batman's Avenue used to run along the river, and is weirdly tolled. The current site of Collingwood sidings is in between Jolimont Road and Wellington Parade South. The site of Jolimont Workshops is the current Rod Laver Arena tennis courts. And the original site of the substation is actually where the John Cain Arena is today. Was closing Jolimont Yards a good idea? The closing of Jolimont Yards was a pretty good idea. Having the main rail yards in the city centre when most rail workers don't live in the city is a pretty bad idea, because most rail workers would have to drive to the city, causing a lot more traffic in the inner city, which is literally what public transport is trying to reduce. Another good thing about decentralization is that if a train breaks down, say at Box Hill, it will have to be towed to city, but now it could just be towed to Bayswater instead. As all lines are running lines now, timetable trains wouldn't have to share a space with trains coming in and out of the yards or being shuffled around. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video about Jolimont Yards. If you have any suggestions on what video I should do next, then leave a comment below. If not, I'll see you later.